The Dark Cosmos. Stay cosmic. The air in the lobby smelled of ozone, gunpowder, and burning flesh. Not that I could smell any of it through the helmet of my battlesuit. But I had smelled it all once before, and I remembered it vividly. It was the kind of smell that stayed with a person. I was, however, able to hear. And what I heard was a cacophonous ringing of gunfire punctuated by the screams of my dying comrades, and the infernal sounds the aliens made when they died. The aliens were humanoid entities with inky, bluish-black skin and 4 arms, and their advanced ammunitions which shredded through human beings like nothing. There was more screaming than the other thing all around, which told me something I already knew. We were losing this battle. It had now been 2 weeks since the aliens landed on Earth. In that time, they had completely seized control of the more populated cities all around the world before they began to move in on the smaller ones. It had been confirmed that the Asian and European continents had fallen already, and no news had come from Africa, so it was assumed they too had been taken over. And America was next. Most of the continent had been seized already, and although the military continued to fight hard, they were outgunned and outmanned by the otherworldly forces. The surviving troops had been forced to retreat to the countryside, where we planned and readied ourselves to go all out. And now, we were aboard the alien mothership, fighting not for our lives, but for the continued existence of the human race. From the moment we infiltrated the ship, we had been brutally outmatched, thousands to hundreds. But this was not some desperate final battle. It was our final battle, but it was far from desperate. We had a plan, even though our chances were near non-existent. Most of our forces had met the alien infantry head-on, creating an opening for a smaller squad, headed by Captain Bennett, to break through. I was a part of the squad, and despite the onslaught going on in front of us, our order was to hold back until we received the signal to push. Instead, we hid behind whatever cover we could find and waited. Watching my comrades fall left and right while I stayed low and did nothing was sickening. But I knew the importance of the mission, as did they. "Breach!" Someone yelled out up ahead. That was the command. At once, I leapt over the cover and sprang forward, tucking my head low as bullets whizzed back and forth. Through the corner of my eye, I spied Captain Bennett and the 11 other members of the squad making a beeline for one of the doorways on the other side of the hall. A few of the aliens caught on to our trajectory and redirected their aims, but they never got the chance to fire as bullets ripped through them, courtesy of our comrades ahead. Through the door, we entered a long hallway. The walls, like all the others we had seen, were made of a strange bone-white material, and doors were arches with vertical slits down the middle. We passed by 4, heading for the large door at the end of the long hallway, when we heard a little hiss from behind. I glanced over my shoulder to see alien soldiers pouring in. "Enemies on our 6!" I yelled.
"Defense?"
Captain Bennett said.
"Open fire!"
The men came to a stop and moved into defensive positions. Captain Bennett stopped me before I could join.
"Go on ahead, Clayton."
She yanked another soldier and threw him at me.
"Take Troy here with you. Complete the mission."
I understood what she was saying. This was the end of the line. For her, and likely for us too. "But sir," I started to protest.
"That's an order,"
she said.
"Now go!"
She did not give me a chance to speak again as she turned and joined the others. Troy and I ran on to the end of the hallway. As we expected, there was no way for us to get in. But we were prepared for that. From his backpack, Troy retrieved a sticky explosive. He rigged it and stuck it to the door. Then we took cover, tucking ourselves on the ground by the sides. With a deafening boom, the bomb went off. Without waiting for the dust to clear, we jumped through the opening and began to fire at any and everything that moved. The aliens must not have expected us to get that far because they were unprepared for our entry. It also appeared they were not soldiers. In a matter of seconds, we cleared the room. A quick scan of the room told us that we had found our objective, the control room. There were several control panels all around the room, and at the center, there was a giant cylindrical chamber that contained some sort of bright blue energy source. It looked powerful enough to power the entire ship, and it was our hope that it was. Troy tossed his backpack to me. "I'll watch the door. Buy you the time you need." I nodded to him, and as he went to the door, I got to work. Using all our explosives, I rigged the energy source to blow. I looked up to tell Troy I was all done, in time to watch him take several bolts of energy through the head and torso. Automatically, I sought out my gun, but found it out in the open where I had tossed it. Before I could reach for it, 3 aliens entered the room. Putting the mission first, I ducked out of sight and set the timer to detonate in 60 seconds. The aliens made weird garbling sounds as they communicated with one another. Then they started to approach. They were too late to stop the explosion. My work was done. But I was not willing to go down without a fight. Acting quickly, I tossed my backpack to the far side. There were magazine rounds and armor plates in them, so when it hit the floor, it was loud enough to attract attention. At once, the aliens opened fire at the harmless backpack, and in the same second, I lunged for my gun, scooped it up, and slid across the open space to find a new cover behind a long control panel. They turned to follow my trajectory, but behind cover, I was still in motion. As they fired at my last location, I rotated to the other end, peeking from under cover with my gun at the ready. Before they spotted me, I squeezed the trigger, pumping them full of old-fashioned lead. Their bodies convulsed with impact, and they went down. I heard more garbling coming from outside, and without stopping to think, I ran for the doorway. With "Die, you fucking bastards!" as my final words, I opened fire, spraying wildly. 4 went down before I ran out of bullets. They returned fire, but by then I had already ducked behind cover. I glanced at the bomb and saw 3 seconds left. On instinct, I curled up in a ball, just as the aliens entered the room. And then, with a flash of intense heat, the world around me went boom.
Daddy? Wake up, Daddy.
Disoriented and confused, I opened my eyes. Leaning over me with a pouty face and a water pistol was my teenage daughter. "Mandy?" I muttered.
Finally,
She said.
I thought I was going to have to shoot you.
I sat up and rubbed my eyes. What's up?"
You've overslept.
she said.
That's what's up.
What?
You overslept.
She repeated. That can't be good. I glanced at the alarm clock. It was 6 minutes past 11. Wait, what day is it?
It's Saturday.
And, how have I overslept? She shrugged.
Mom said to call you down for breakfast.
I scowled at her, but she wasn't fazed.
Moving on. I have soccer today, remember?
Soccer, I repeated. That was the wrong answer, because she frowned. I mean, soccer. Of course. Unconvinced, she folded her arms.
Leave your father alone, Mandy.
A new voice joined the conversation. I leaned past Mandy to look at the doorway, and there Missy stood, leaning against the wall. She wore an apron and had a spatula in her hand.
Hey, babe.
She said, "Hey, you." She came over to the bed and fondly tousled Mandy's hair.
Now you know your father has sleep brain in the morning.
She said, giving me a meaningful look.
He definitely didn't forget about your big game today.
Absolutely not, I said.
Good. Now, Mandy, go help me set the table.
Mandy nodded and left the room.
You forgot, didn't you?
Missy said. Totally. Nice save. She shrugged.
It's what I do. It's at 6, by the way.
Gotcha.
And it's a pretty big game, so don't think of missing it. Now clean up and come down for breakfast.
She kissed me on the cheek and then on the lips before leaving the room. Missy and Mandy were seated at the table when I went down 15 minutes later.
Ugh, finally.
Mandy said. It appeared they had been waiting for me. Missy rolled her eyes but smiled.
Go easy on your father, Mandy.
She made a plate for me as I sat down.
So, how was your week?
Missy asked after a few minutes of silence. It was good, I said.
Just good?
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Mandy?
Unlike me, Mandy had a lot to talk about, from a trip to the museum to her math test to soccer practice.
See, honey?
Missy said when Mandy was done.
That's how to talk about your week.
I smiled. I'm afraid my weekdays are not that interesting. After breakfast, Mandy's friend came over and they went out to the mall. Missy went out back to tend to the garden, but not before she asked me to clean the gutters. The streets were empty when I got to it, save for the next-door neighbor, Mr. Jefferson, who was mowing his lawn. "Morning, neighbor," he said. "Good morning, Mr. Jefferson. Wonderful day, isn't it?" "Looks like it." That was the end of our conversation. He went back to mowing, and I went on with cleaning. The rest of the day until 5:30 was spent in front of the television while Missy busied herself around the house. A normal, uneventful day. By 6, the Clayton family was at Star Valley High Field. Missy and I sat in the bleachers with the other parents and supporters, while Mandy, her teammates, and the opposing team took to the field. As they took their positions, awaiting kickoff, Mandy looked out to the bleachers, and when she spotted us, she smiled and waved.
You know, she's really happy that you're here.
Missy said as we waved back. I wouldn't miss it for the world. The whistle went, and the match started in earnest. I had never really been a fan of soccer, but watching Mandy move around the field with such purpose and interest, I was amazed. The ball was passed to Mandy, and as she sprinted for the goal, the crowd cheered, and I cheered with them. She weaved past a midfielder and 2 defenders, made a feint shot that sent the keeper flying, and then passed to her teammate, who launched the ball into the far right corner of the net. The crowd went wild. "That's my girl!" I hugged Missy and kissed her cheek, while she looked on in amusement. For the remainder of the game, I was on edge. Mandy assisted 2 more goals and scored 1 herself, while Star Valley High conceded twice. Mandy was in high spirits, and so was I. We went out for ice cream and talked about the game until Missy got tired of us. At night, as I got ready for bed, Missy was doing a bit of reading. "Today was a great day, wasn't it?" I said. She looked up from her book.
Yeah, it was.
I crawled into bed, and she cuddled up to me. It wasn't long before sleep came.
Daddy! Wake up, Daddy!
I opened my eyes, and there was Mandy standing over me with a water pistol. "Again?" I muttered.
Again?
She said, confused.
What do you mean again?
I sat up and rubbed my eyes. "What is going on?"
You've overslept.
She said.
That's what's going on.
"No. I mean, you said that yesterday."
Yesterday?
I sat up and shook my head. "Ignore me. I think I'm having a weird..." I trailed off as I noticed the clock. It said 6 minutes past 11. "Mandy, what day is it?"
It's Saturday.
"Saturday?" I laughed nervously. That's not possible."
Is this what a midlife crisis looks like?
Mandy said.
Moving on. I have soccer today, remember?
Blood drained from my face as I looked up at her, and she frowned.
Are you okay? You're scaring me. Should I get Mom?
"No, Just give me a moment.
Leave your father alone, Mandy.
Missy called from the doorway, just as she had done yesterday. Missy? I said, leaning to look at her.
Were you expecting someone else?
I buried my head in my hands, perplexed.
Mandy, go help me set the table. Fine. But Dad better have not forgotten my game. He didn't. Trust me.
When Mandy left, Missy sat down on the bed.
You don't look so good. What's wrong?
I'm not sure, I said. This sounds silly, but I feel like I've lived this day before.
Oh? Like deja vu?
More than that. I noticed worry lines forming on her face and backtracked. Don't let it bother you. It's nothing.
I'm sure it'll pass. Just clean up and come down for breakfast. Finally!
Mandy said, just as I knew she would. And then Missy said,
Go easy on your father, Mandy.
I tried to block it all out as I sat down.
So, how was your week?
Missy asked. I decided to say something different, but I drew a blank. I could not come up with a single answer. It was like the memory of my week was foggy for some reason. It was good, I said at last. She moved on to Mandy, who answered the same as the day before, word for word. While she prattled on, I tried to pay attention, but it bothered me that on top of reliving the day, I could not pick out a single event from my week. What was going on? I tried to believe that they were playing a prank on me, but the calendar on my phone said it was Saturday, and when I went out to clean the gutters, Mr. Jefferson was there, and again the conversation went. "Morning, neighbor," he said. "Good morning, Mr. Jefferson. Wonderful day, isn't it?" Looks like it. We went to the soccer game in the evening, and this time there were no surprises. I knew how the match would go, and I could not fake the enthusiasm. Missy noticed, and I could tell she was disappointed. I turned in early when night fell, hoping to end whatever was going on. But when I woke the next morning, there was Mandy standing over me. It took a lot of patience not to scream and curse when I saw the time. I excused Mandy and rushed to the bathroom, where I proceeded to slap myself hard to try and wake up from whatever was going on. It did not help, and it hurt. As I stared at my reflection, however, I felt a sharp pain just behind my eyes, and when it passed, I saw flashes of a dream. I saw myself in battle armor, fighting aliens. I heard gunshots. I saw people die. People I felt like I should know. The dream ended with an explosion. What the fuck? A knock on the door interrupted my thoughts.
Babe?
Missy called.
Mandy said you ran in here. Everything all right?
Fine. I'll take a shower and be out. I heard her footsteps retreat and sat on the toilet to gather my thoughts. I was reliving the same day for the second time. I had a dream that didn't feel like a dream about a war. Even before the dream, I had a nagging feeling that things didn't feel right. And now I couldn't shake the thought that it was both important and urgent that I recall the rest of the dream. I let the day play out, but as I did, I paid attention to every person and everything I saw. That proved pointless until in the evening, as we were watching the match at Star Valley High, my attention was drawn to the gym teacher, standing on the sidelines. I recognized her at once, but it was a good minute of hard staring before I realized that she was none other than Captain Sandy Bennett. I waited patiently until the end of the match, then, as she left the field with her team, I approached her. "Miss Bennett," I said, "if I could have a word?" She stared quizzically before giving a hesitant,
Sure.
"Don't take this the wrong way, Miss Bennett, but I feel like I've known you before." She looked at me like I was mad.
Well, yes, I've been your daughter's gym teacher for 4 years now, Mr. Clayton.
No, you don't understand. I mean, I've known you in a different way. Her expression instantly went dark.
Are you hitting on me, Mr. Clayton? In front of your daughter?
What? No, absolutely not. I palmed my forehead in frustration. None of this is going to make sense. But I have lived through this Saturday twice before today. The only difference is today, I woke up with strange, impossible memories. I was a soldier battling aliens and you were my captain. She deadpanned.
Did you by any chance fall asleep playing video games?
This is serious.
Sir, I don't know what you aim to achieve by this, but...
You love hip-hop, but whenever anyone asks, you say country music is your favorite, I said. Your father taught you to shoot as soon as you could walk, and you could drop a deer with a hunting rifle at 300 paces before you were in high school. Your favorite color is red because you have a morbid fascination with blood, and you had an affair with a local celebrity back home in Kansas and got pregnant, but you had a miscarriage. Sandy Bennett's jaw dropped.
There is no way you could possibly know any of that,
she said. Except I do, and you told me.
I wouldn't tell just anyone that.
I nodded. That's what you said before you told me. You were my captain and my friend.
What? What are you trying to say?
I'll tell you about this and everything else tomorrow.
Why not now?
Because when I go to bed tonight, all of this will reset. I'll remember this conversation, but to you, it'll never have happened.
Okay.
She was still skeptical, but at least she trusted me now. We will need to make the most of the day, so how about I come to you in the morning?
Very well.
She told me her address. Did you get any visitors today?
None at all. Why?
I'm gathering random details. Bottom line, how can I convince you to trust me? So when I show up, you don't pepper spray me or something.
This morning, I bought a lottery ticket at 7:30. The numbers I entered were 140287.
Your birthday, I said at once. Her eyes widened.
But how?
You were testing me again, weren't you?
I mean, yes, but everything I said is true. But how?
Tomorrow, I said, wishing I didn't have to leave her like that. I turned and headed back to the bleachers where Missy was waiting. At 8 in the morning, still in the same day, I headed over to the address Sandy had given me, hoping she had not lied. When she opened the door to find me standing on her porch, she was shocked and confused. I knew at once she, too, had been reset.
Mr. Clayton?
She said.
This is a surprise.
I'm afraid it only gets weird from here on out, I said.
What?
140287, I said.
I beg your pardon?
You bought a lottery ticket. Those were your numbers.
How could you possibly?
I have been living today on a loop, Miss Bennett. In the last loop, we talked, and I asked you how I could convince you to trust me, and you told me those numbers.
What? What are you talking about? And why would you need me to trust you?
Because I'm about to make you distrust everything else. Now, may I come in, please? It took an hour to explain everything that had happened since I first looped to her, but it was another 2 hours before I could exhaustively answer all her questions, and even then she was still confused. She had been pacing her living room for the past hour, and she still hadn't stopped.
So you think I'm some sort of captain, and you and I fought in a war against aliens?
She said. Yes.
And you think we're in some sort of simulation that only you can see through?
Yes. And I need you to remember too, somehow, because so far you're the only person I've recognized from the dream.
But I don't know what you want from me.
I don't know either, but the fact that I recognized you must mean something. At least I hope it does.
I don't know what to say. I'm just a gym teacher, Mr. Clayton.
Sandy, please. I reached out and grabbed her hand as she passed, hoping to keep her still for a minute. What happened instead was she shuddered as if she had just been shocked. Then she looked at me wide-eyed.
What did you just do?
What are you talking about?
You touched me and I saw.
She sat down. What did you see?
I saw horrible things. The things you described? I saw.
She looked at me and her brows furrowed.
Chase?
I blinked. Miss Bennett never called me Chase. But Sandy did. Sandy? She tackled me in a hug.
Oh my God! Chase!
I pulled away. You remember?
It's slowly coming back to me, but I believe you. Oh God, what happened?
If I had to guess, we lost. And if you're really in this simulation with me, then it's not my dream. I think the whole planet is in a simulation.
But how?
I don't know. I planted the charges in the control room. Last thing I remember was the explosion.
What if that's why you're the only one who can see through the simulation?
Beats me. But we have to find a way out.
How?
I don't know, but my gut feeling led me to you. Let's hope it leads me to... I heard a vehicle pull up outside. Expecting company?
No,
She went to the window.
it's a cop car.
Wait. Don't open the door. Close the blinds.
Why?
When we spoke in the last loop, you said you didn't have any visitors. I'm pretty sure you would have remembered to tell me if the cops showed up.
What are you saying?
I peered out the window in time to see the officers ready their guns. Those aren't cops. Get down. I pulled her to the ground in time as the next second the door was shredded through with bullets, right where she had been standing.
What the fuck?
My guess? They found out there's an anomaly in the simulation and they tracked it here.
Fuck!
We need to go out the back,
Find cover.
she said.
I'll be right back.
She darted up the stairs while I crawled behind the couch. The next moment, they kicked the door in. "This is the police," they said. "Come out with your hands in the air." That's usually not the order that goes, I thought. I held my breath and listened as they crossed the living room. They were 4 paces away from where I hid when Sandy returned, and she brought a shotgun with her.
Get out of my fucking house, you bastards!
I heard the sickening sound of flesh being torn apart. Sandy ducked down next to me as the second officer fired back, but she did not stay hidden for long. She slid across to the other end of the couch and popped up to fire again. Again, there was impact, and this time, she did not return to cover. I dared to peek, and there were the 2 officers, lying dead, both their torsos reduced to red mush.
Please tell me I didn't just kill 2 actual police officers.
Sandy said, starting to panic. You didn't.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
So if they're not police, what are they?
Some sort of antivirus sent to get rid of me? I don't know. Oh, shit. Sandy followed my gaze to the bodies and saw what I was seeing. Their bodies were mending. Very unnaturally and very quickly, too. "Sandy, we need to move. Now!" She snatched up a bunch of keys from the coffee table and dragged me out the side door to the garage. There, a black muscle car was waiting for us under a tarp cover. She opened the boot and tossed the keys to me.
You drive.
Why me?
They're going to be coming for us.
She pulled out an assault rifle and loaded it.
And I'm the better shot.
I could not argue, so I jumped in and started the engine as she opened the garage door. As she got in, the door behind us burst open.
Hit it!
I floored the gas and the car jolted forward. We swerved onto the road as bullets began to fly. Undaunted, Sandy leaned out the window and fired back. It was not until we turned a corner and sped up before she ceased fire and settled in.
So, where are we headed?
She said as she changed magazines. I have no idea.
What?
Don't give me that look. We were on the subject before those not policemen came at us.
Wait, that might be it.
What?
They came pretending to be police, so maybe they're coming from the precinct.
That's the only lead we have, so let's check it out. But first, we'll swing by my house.
What for?
Missy and Mandy. If they're coming after me, they might go after them, too. For a couple of minutes, Sandy was silent.
Chase,
Yeah?
what's your last memory of Missy and Mandy?
What?
Before you woke up this morning, the same way you remembered me, what do you remember about them?
I don't know, I said. Why are you asking like that?
Oh, God.
Sandy muttered.
You really don't remember.
What? Remember what?
Chase, Missy and Mandy died during the first attack. I don't know how they're here, but in the real world, they're dead. They've been dead for at least 2 weeks.
As she said the words, it felt like a fog was lifted from a part of my brain. I saw Mandy bleeding out in my arms. Missy was next to me, her torso separate from her legs, the light gone from her eyes. No. I pulled over by the side of the road and undid my seatbelt. Breathing did not come easy, and my heart was pounding in my chest.
Chase, I'm sorry.
No, that's not right. They're real. They're alive. I saw them this morning. I heard their voices. I held them. I hugged them. They're alive.
Chase.
They have to. They can't be.
I'm sorry, Chase.
Stop saying that. I pulled at my hair and hit the steering wheel. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew it was true. I remembered the pain. But if I don't do anything, I get to be with them every day.
Chase, you can't think like that.
Why not? I snapped. What would you do if you could be with your brother again?
That's not fair.
None of this is fair. Sandy sighed, and when she spoke again, her tone was soft.
Chase, I know it hurts. I know it's hard. I want to beg you to do the unselfish thing for the sake of everyone else. God knows I do. But I can't imagine what I would do in your place. I can't make the choice for you, but I will try to support whatever you choose.
My eyes stung with tears I refused to let fall, because I already knew what I would do. 15 minutes later, we pulled up at my house. Wait in the car, I told Sandy. Missy was still gardening, but she came into the house when she heard the door.
Babe, everything all right?
Where's Mandy? Is she here?
I think so, but she's about to head out.
I just want to see her. Mandy! She came running.
Dad? What's going on?
For a moment, I stood there, simply appreciating them. There were no words to use, and I did not trust myself to speak either way. I pulled them both into a hug and squeezed tight.
Well, this is something.
Mandy said. I backed away to look at them again.
Babe, is everything all right?
Missy said. Yeah. There's something I have to do. My voice cracked. I turned and hurried out of the house. Without a single backwards glance, I jumped in the car, and without a word to Sandy, I started the car and drove off. In the rearview mirror, I saw my wife and daughter come out, confused.
You're doing the right thing, Chase.
Sandy said. Please, just don't. The precinct was located in the middle of the city, and within the hour we had arrived. In the car, we went over the plan, which was pretty much the same as our last plan together. She would storm the entrance and create an opening for me to infiltrate. But as she kicked down the door with her assault rifle at the ready, there was no one waiting. Instead, the precinct had been overtaken by creeping gray vines. some digging into the walls and floors.
So something is definitely here.
Sandy said. But no defenses.
I guess they didn't think anyone would ever notice it for what it was.
We followed the vines up the stairs until we came to what looked like a giant, beating heart. Suddenly, we heard police sirens outside.
Those cops have found us!
Sandy said.
And there's more than 2. I count half a dozen. Ugh, I guess they were out looking for us.
She tossed me the assault rifle and took the shotgun from me.
I'll keep them back. You destroy that thing.
Sandy. Not again, I said.
That's an order from your captain, Clayton.
As Sandy ran off, I came face to face with the vine heart and leveled my gun at it. All I had to do was pull the trigger, an act I had done thousands of times before without hesitation. And yet, I hesitated. It felt like I was watching my family die all over again. This time by my hands. I heard gunfire from downstairs as Sandy engaged the policeman, and then I heard her scream in pain. She had been hit. The sound of my captain in pain put things in perspective for me. This wasn't about holding on to my family. I had lost them, and this wasn't bringing them back. It was letting the very monsters that took her from me win. And that made me mad. And so, for Missy and for Mandy and for Sandy's brother and everyone else we had lost, I steadied my aim and fired right into the center of the beating heart. I fired until I was out of bullets, and reloaded and fired again and again as inky black blood oozed from the organ. Soon I had no more magazines left, but my anger was far from spent, and so I attacked with the assault rifle, swinging with all my might even though the blows merely bounced off the rubbery exterior. Only when I could lift the gun no more did I stop, and then my knees gave out. I heard footsteps and picked up the gun again, but it was only Sandy. She had been shot in the leg, but other than that, she was fine.
I knew you could do it.
She smiled. Well, that makes one of us, I said. Now what?
I guess it's time to wake up.
No sooner had she said that than her hands began to fade away. The rest of her followed soon after. I tried to reach out to her but found I didn't have hands anymore. My legs went next. And then I blacked out. I opened my eyes to find myself staring at the ceiling. No Mandy staring down at me, and no Missy in the doorway smiling at her antic. Then came the nostalgia. But before the feeling could set in, I felt something crawling up my throat and bent over to throw up. To my horror, a gray, spider-like creature made of vine came out of me. It was still wriggling, so I stomped on it until it was a black smear on the floor. I was still recovering from that when the phone began to ring. "Hello?" I said. "Who is this?"
Well, aren't you adorable?
My heart skipped a beat. "Sandy?"
That's Captain Bennett to you.
I could hear her smile.
You just woke up, huh?
"Yeah.
Threw up a disgusting vine thingy?
Yeah, what's... where... Did we do it?"
Why don't you turn on the news, sleepyhead?
I hurried downstairs and turned on the television.
"Reports have been flying in from all over the world,"
the newscaster was saying.
"People are waking up from what speculators are calling a shared dream. Every case also mentions vomiting a mysterious living creature. In other words, as of this morning, the alien mothership has departed Earth's orbit. But how long until they return?"
I turned it off. We drove them off?
Looks that way.
How? We lost. And how did I end up in my house?
Same here. And same with every survivor from that battle. I checked in with as many as I could in the last hour. I have a theory. The alien soldiers destroyed most of our militaries, but that nasty thing you threw up must have been used on everyone else to put them in the simulation. The explosion you caused might not have destroyed their ship, but it weakened it, and they probably aren't done with repairing it. They were afraid we would regroup and attack while they were still recovering, so they fled.
But they will be back.
Without a doubt. But until then, you are Earth's hero.
Not that anyone knows about it.
I do, and you best believe I'll make sure people know.
She laughed, but quickly grew serious.
Missy and Mandy would be proud, Chase.
Thank you, Captain.
That's Sandy to you.
Hey, sci-fi horror fans. It's Thomas. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thank you to all our official channel members. Your support means a lot to us. Craving another scary tale? Click that video on your screen. Until next time, everyone. And remember, stay cosmic.